Hey Bottoms, welcome to episode 62 of the Bottoms Up podcast. I am your host, Taylor, and this episode is going to be a little bit of a doozy, a little bit of a switch up from what I typically do. This is going to be me responding to two YouTube videos in particular from other queer, Black, lesbian creators who I really enjoy. Their names are Bitnia and Jewel Amina. I'll be linking their videos in the description, and I'm going to have a couple of clips from those videos as well throughout this episode. It's just me trying to talk about this concept and just these thoughts that I've had when it comes to, again, dating and relationships, one of my favorite topics to dive into because I suffered for so much of my life and so much of my childhood. So it's something that I wanted to just dive into, just more of a reaction that I had to these two creators. They are phenomenal. I really, really love the work that they put out. So I'll be linking their videos in the description. And I think that for the purposes of this episode, it is kind of worth it to watch all three, like listen to this episode and then watch those two videos. I think it just will give you more perspective on kind of like what's been going through my mind. I would also, like to open up the floor for further discussion as well. Again, I really, really enjoy when you guys like send me DMs after I post an episode and you're like, oh my goodness, like I love what you said here. Like, and I like, can we dig into it deeper? And I'm like, oh my God, yes, I love critical thought. So like I said, if you want to hear more from these creators, I have them linked in the description of this video, this episode. But with that, let's go ahead and jump into it. Hey Bottoms. Welcome back to another episode of the Bottoms Up podcast. I'm your host, Taylor, and I'm coming to you today in very comfy, cozy clothing because not only am I going through lesbian heartbreak right now, but I'm also on my period, and like having both of those things at the same time is just like levels of like homophobia and oppression that are unprecedented. So I'm having the hardest day of anybody right now. So please send your condolences. Also, let me turn on my lights so that it's not so gloomy. Okay. Hopefully that's better. Hopefully that's a little more even, a little warmer. So I'm not feeling it today, but I was actually supposed to record this episode last night, but I was feeling even worse last night, so I have to do it today. Otherwise it's gonna get pushed to this weekend, and I really don't have any fucking time this weekend because that seems to be my life right now. God forbid a girl has even an ounce, a thimble of time to herself. Being a girl in your 20s, that's what this feels like. This feels very much girl in your 20s. So yeah, take me as I am today. You're just gonna have to get this version of me today, and it is what it is. I'm coming authentically, which is like really important for people on the internet these days. So today, I want to talk about decentering women. And the timing of this, let me clarify. It's not that I'm going through lesbian heartbreak and now I'm having I'm feeling very like counterculture when it comes to dating. Like that's not it. This episode is more so a response actually to another podcaster who I follow who goes by Bitnia. She has a show called The Glass Closet, and then she also does like commentary style YouTube videos as well. Big fan of her content. She had actually posted this back, I believe, in February, and I saw it and I was like, I DM'd her immediately and I was like, girl, I have some thoughts that I would like to add to this conversation. So I was like, I knew I really wanted to talk about this, like for my second, sit down talking head, me having conversations kind of episode. It's not going to be one of those ones where I feel like sometimes when I do these episodes, I kind of have like like this is how we should be doing things, like type of way. Like this is not that. This is more so like me coming as a girl, just a girl, wanting to just like express my feelings. And again, just kind of touch on things that have been on my mind, and maybe like kind of bothering me. Maybe just me being a little bit way more self-aware than I really need to be. Because like, it's not like, if you're ascribing qualities to yourself that aren't accurate, that's not self-aware. That's just mental illness. And like, you should work on that. And I do feel like I do that. So we'll be talking about that too. Before we jump into all that, I just want to say thank you for the last Lovers Than Friends. Oh my goodness, that beach party was so much fun. Even if we were surrounded by spring breakers, I still had a great time. Thank you. Everybody was within dress code. Everybody was within dress code. I had a fantastic time. I love women. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'll shout it from the rooftops. I love women. That was amazing and fantastic, and I appreciate you guys. The next Lovers Then Friends is going to be the Sapphic Vent session. That'll be on April 9th at Blue Steakhouse in downtown Hollywood. It is for us to talk about our work drama. And I'm not even exaggerating. Like, I need you all to understand, I'm fucking nosy, okay? I want to hear about your juiciest work drama. Bring it to me. Give it to me, Rachel. Show it to me, please. I want to hear about it. And like, it needs to be like the good shit. Like, I don't want something basic. And if it's basic, I'm going to tell you to quit your job and go find a more interesting one, because I don't have time for that. So yes, please bring me your work drama. I'm very curious. I want to know. And then also, it's a safe space for us to feel supported and loved by other women, and non-binary people and sapphics. So yeah, come out, please. I do have some upcoming ideas, which I am probably going to just throw on Instagram stories and kind of get some feedback about what's going to be, the most relevant to the community. All but one person said yes to the seafood boil. So like, I guess I gotta do it now, but I'm gonna wait for the weather to cool down. I'm not doing a fucking seafood boil in the summer. It's just not worth it. But yeah, we'll wait for the weather to cool down, and I promise that we will have a community seafood boil. Don't worry, it's coming. Let me jump into my planning mode, and I can make it happen. And then upcoming, especially for April, we have both Miami Beach Pride and Wilson Women's Week. Very, very important. Very big events for our community. In case you all are not aware, due to recent changes at the federal level, Miami Beach Pride lost about $300,000 worth of funding that came from the city of Miami Beach. So we definitely need to be able to show up for each other, especially this year, especially now, more than we have had to previously, just with the attacks specifically in Florida when it comes to being able to openly express ourselves and also to fucking support ourselves financially like crazy. But not only does your voice have a big impact, but your dollar does as well. And as always, I'm very big on supporting local businesses, local enterprises, and local initiatives, because that money comes right back into your community. And Miami Beach Pride is 100% community fed, led, funded. So would absolutely love to see you guys out there, and would love to see you guys engaging with those local businesses as well. Same thing with Wilson Women's Week, coming back for the second year. I'm very excited. I believe the schedule was actually just dropped recently. So I think I'll just be sharing more as we get closer, because it's not till the end of the month, or the end of April. So I'll definitely be sharing my schedule, where I plan to be. I think the readings are coming back this year as well. I know the initial art show is also coming back, and I bullied Ebony, so she's going to be submitting some artwork, which means that we can all go support Ebony. Look at that. Now we all have plans together. Oh my God. Actually, maybe that's going to be a little Lovers and Friends meetup. Look at that. Look at God. So yeah, we'll definitely be together for that. There is also April 25th. I believe, I don't remember if that's a Thursday or a Friday, but it's like right at the start of Wilton Women's Week. There's also the Flamingo Car Classic in Wilton. And then there's also the Gay Polo League tournament up in Wellington, which I would like to get some people out to. The Flamingo Car Classic is free to attend. It's like a completely like open to the public event. The polo tournament is, I think it's $55 for general admission. Not gonna lie, little steep. Totally understand if people are not wanting to put that kind of money down, but I'm just throwing it out there. If y'all want to go feel very bougie for a day, I think we can also tailgate. If we split a tailgating ticket, let me cook. I'll get back to you on that. But those are options out there if you guys are wanting to continue to meet up. And I'm just very big on trying to get more events and activations up in Palm Beach County as well. So, okay, I think that's all I have to do with like yapping about gay stuff. So let's talk about decentering women. Because as a lesbian, it is really fun to be into women until you actually try to date one. Not even try to date, just like women are very beautiful to look at and very difficult to experience. I think that's the best way to describe it. I wouldn't have it any other way. Oh my God, oh my God, the idea of being with a man is like absolutely no, not at all. But like I said before, originally, this episode and this topic was kind of triggered for me by this episode that Bitnia had released, which I also think for this episode, I'm going to be including a couple of clips from both Bitnia's podcast episode, and then also there's another video by Jewel Amina. I can't read my own writing actually, but Jewel, she had also done she's a commentary YouTuber, also another queer YouTuber as well, also Black. The Black girls are fucking winning in this episode, okay? This is what happens when Black minds come together. We get shit like this. So Jewel had done a commentary video on this TikToker named Molly Rudder, who has been deemed a serial dater. And so like those two things, it's these two like videos that were just kind of in my mind, and I was like, I want to talk about like how this is like how it's making my wheels turn, or like whatever. So I think when I had initially, like, I'm one of those people where I'm not really on TikTok like that. Like me as a person, I'm definitely chronically online, but like there's other, like I'm not as chronically online as like some other people. Like I'm chronically online, but I'm not terminally online, if that makes sense. So I don't really like keep up, especially with like certain creators per se. I think I keep up with trends, not necessarily like people. So this, like the video, there was like a couple other videos about Molly Rudder that had come up for me, and I like to listen to these like while I'm at work. And so to give you kind of like the overall picture, Molly Rudder is a popular TikToker, and she is known for her dating content. That is the type of content that she makes. She's a full-time content creator, so this is also the content that she makes her money off of, and makes a living off of.
So where do we even begin with Molly Rota? At first, she felt like that relatable girl on TikTok who would share every awkward date and heartbreak like she was chatting with a friend over a cup of coffee. People loved it because it felt genuine, like you were getting the unfiltered version of her life. But over time, things shifted. The messy stories, they got bigger, the drama got louder, and what once felt like honesty just started to look more like content.
So she goes on dates and she talks about those dates. She records like maybe as she's going to the dates, and she has had some controversy around her. I'm really not going to get into it. If anything, watch Jewel's video. She explains the whole thing. But my kind of like reaction to that initially, like when I was first, listening about her while I was doing my work, is like, oh, a serial dater. What is a serial dater? And then I started to think, am I a serial dater? Because I have the kind of OCD where the minute that somebody else has a problem, I think, oh my goodness, do I have that problem too? I don't know what genre of OCD that is, but I would like to get rid of it, actually. I think that's the one thing that the Zoloft has not fixed, is like that little bit, that tiny little last bit of OCD, which is like whatever. And so I begin to think, like, am I a serial dater? Like, because I honestly, like, I don't know if you guys have seen, again, I'm chronically online, which I assume that you guys are not, but I don't know if you've seen those like Instagram reels where it'll be like two friends talking to each other, and then one is like, oh yeah, remember that guy I'm seeing, or like that person I'm seeing, and the other friend will be like, oh, was it this one? And then the one friend will be like, oh, no, the other one. And they'll be like, oh wait, that one? And then, oh wait, that one? Is it? No, that one. And so like me, low key, I'm the friend where like you got to keep up with who the next girl is, because like I cycle like fairly quickly, right? And so I wouldn't say that it is me necessarily like devaluing like those women who come into my life, because I think like I've moved very far away from like the idea of having a roster. One, because it just like, that is actually a little degrading, I will say. I think it's a fun little jokey joke, but I do think that it's kind of rooted in misogyny especially. But I do also just feel like, again, like for myself and for the things that I value, and also for my goals as well, that like it doesn't really make sense for me to be like seeing multiple women at the same time. I don't have the energy to do it, and then I also just don't have the interest like at all, because especially as someone who like does tend to date very intentionally, with the intention to have a girlfriend, make that girl my wife, and have children, and my wife make a fence on my farm, and I don't know, be fucking, who's that, ballerina farms, but like make a lesbian, you know. I'm very traditional when it comes to dating. I think that I, as a femme, should go to work at my big corporate job and bring home a lot of money to my butch wife who, I don't know, builds me a fucking table once a week or some shit. I don't fucking know. That was a joke, to be clear. I don't want, no one misconstrue my words, take me out of context. Like, that would be terrible. But I think like for me especially, I was kind of like having this fear of like, wow, you know, I don't want to just kind of like jump from one romantic interest like to the next. I think, and again, I've done a lot of work in the last year, especially, and I've had a lot of growth in the past year, just with like the way that I approach relationships and approach dating, and the way that I like spend my time on it. And so I think part of like my fear of like wondering if I'm a serial dater was because I was just having a very self-aware moment, and I was really trying to like figure myself out, and I was really trying to just approach things in like a healthier way. Because even if I look at like over the course of last year, like if I 2025, is that like 1, 2, 3? Yeah, I would say I only truly dated like 3 people. I think like there were a lot of people that I could argue that I was in like a talking phase with, or where like the interest was there, but it never really amounted into anything. And then there was one girl who like I went on one date, and then like that was just kind of it. Like, I can't even say that she necessarily ghosted me. It was like whatever. That was weird. That was actually a waste of my time. That one was a waste of my time for sure. But obviously, like I don't like to like talk in detail about my dating life. Like that has always been very much like a clear boundary for me, like on the podcast. Partially because I'm just like, girl, that's my business, not yours. And then the other thing is too, like that's other people's lives and privacy as well, that I don't want to be like sharing details about. I think like I'm okay with speaking to, again, these like more like overarching ideas about dating and relationships and society and just like the way that I view things. But to go into like the actual nitty gritty of like what I'm going through is like, no, I don't want to do that. Never have. I think even like I see, it's like, it's weird because as much as that's been a boundary for me, when I see people like Molly Rudder, like I kind of like that content. Like I find it so interesting because I think sometimes when I look at it, like I see it as like I almost see it as like more similar to what I'm doing, where like I'm just kind of sharing like this overall, like overarching, like, oh, like here's me as like a real person and like how I navigate dating. But I will say, like, I think where it like gets to a point with like Molly Rudder and like other like dating content creators, even just saying that like that's a thing is like weird to me as well. It kind of like sets up a situation, one where like you're having to be very vulnerable about like yourself and the experiences that you're having with these other people, and then by default, because you're being vulnerable about yourself, you end up also being vulnerable about them as well. And so if you don't kind of have the thumbs up from them to say, you know, to be sharing like this information about the dating experience, it can just end up being a little unfair for everybody. And obviously, like there are levels to it as well. Like, okay, for example, like I just said that there was one person who I went on one date with, and then I kind of got ghosted, and it was a waste of my time. It's like, even in sharing that, I almost feel like it sets up a situation where people want to be like, oh my goodness, like who was it? Like, what happened there? Like, blah, blah, blah. And I don't even think that my friends would know who that one was. Like, out of the people that like they were familiar with that occupied my mental space at any point in time last year. But I think it also, in order for you to continue with that, like with approaching dating as something that you are monetizing, you can almost never succeed. And I think a good example of that is another creator who I actually genuinely liked when I first saw her content, which is, I think her name is Danielle Walters. Oh my God. Like you have to, I felt so cheated because I remember like her content would pop up for me like on, and I'm really only on Instagram. I don't really do TikTok. So like her content would pop up for me like on my explore page, and it would always be like, oh, like get ready for me like for a first date. And I just thought it was cute. I was like, oh my goodness. Cause for me, I'm like, oh, this is an outfit. This is an outfit video. Like this is a fashion influencer, you know, like, and I love style. I love fashion. And I work from home, so I don't really leave the house. And so it was nice to see her like get ready and have these cute outfits, like do her makeup. And she looks so cute, like so cute. So like, I really liked that. And that's what actually would pop up for me on my feed. So then y'all should have seen me like a couple months ago when all of a sudden I'm seeing somebody with like a 58-minute YouTube op-ed about an influencer that I low-key liked, and I'm like, huh, what's going on? But she is now engaged to a man that I think she met 9 months ago. But there is like she has turned like she's turned dating into her career, and she's turned dating content into her career, and so now her relationship is also content. And so it's very like weird and unsettling and uncomfortable, and like that's never where I would want to be. Like I can't ever, I don't know, I'm already like in my personal life even very like mindful of the people that I might even introduce my friends to or even like tell my friends about. And so to then take that to like another level and be like super like overly public about it on a public platform is just like no, like it's just not my thing. I think sure there's probably people who are able to do it in a way that like is healthy and make their money, and like congrats to you like that you've like made a bag off of it, but like it could never be me, just personally. But really the first trigger for me was like seeing the videos about Molly Rudder and then questioning, okay, am I a serial dater? And like trying to like do my best to rethink, like the way that I'm approaching things. And the thing is, I don't think that I am a serial dater. I think like when I really like, dive into it, like what, even if I include that the last girl that like wasted my time, last year it would have been like 4 first dates that I went on. Not bad. For 1 year, that's like not crazy. I think that for me, when I am physically attracted to someone, that like that'll kind of that takes me like a lot farther than maybe it should. But I have this running joke that like there are a lot of people who I like and who I'm really into and really interested in until they open their mouth and start talking, and then I'm like, oh, this is not going to work out. Like for me, that initial first physical like look at somebody really does a lot, and like I'm willing to give a chance just based on that and like become like really interested just based on that. But it's also like as easy as it is to like get my attention, it's equally as easy to lose it. And so like I think for myself that like when I kind of get into that like talking phase with people where I'm getting to know them a little bit but we haven't really gone on a first date yet, I might tell my friends like, oh my God, like there's like this girl who I'm like talking to, or like blah, blah, blah. And I think like because I go through that experience like kind of frequently, that I viewed that as me like being a serial dater. But like honestly, yeah, when I'm sitting here thinking about the numbers, also I'm not doing what Molly Rudder is doing. Like, and I also like I have no incentive to, because I'm not a dating content creator. Like that's not my job. Like I don't have to do that. So I very much like, approach things as they make sense for me. So yeah, thank you for working through this with me, guys. I appreciate it. You just heard me really unpack that thought there. But then I think like Molly Rudder and similar content creators, I think it still kind of like wraps into this concept that I'm calling you Bitnia. I know your name is Nia, but I'm calling you Bitnia. That Bitnia explores in her content, or in this episode as well. The episode of her podcast that I'm referring to, you can find it on YouTube. It's called The Lesbian Breakup Industrial Complex, which I think is a hilarious fucking name. And essentially, she's digging into like this idea of decentering relationships, because I think like as a society, I think that there is like this push to like decenter men. I think the initial push was decentering men, like in this much more like overall scheme. Sure, relationships, like the romantic relationships we have with men obviously are part of it, but also decentering men in like other areas of your life, and decentering the male gaze in other areas of your life, whether that's you liking men or you being like deeply, Jackie, I'm so sorry, it's not happening. It's not happening. I'm sending you a voicemail. I love you, but it's not happening right now. So I think like decentering men was kind of like the start of it. And then I think it brought us to this idea of decentering relationships. And then somehow we did get to this idea of decentering women, which we love a binary. We love a binary. I think the idea of like decentering relationships and decentering men can exist because like it's a Venn diagram. Like there's an overlap, but like decentering men includes other areas of your life, versus like decentering relationships is very specific, and it might include men if you date men, if you happen to date men. I really like, if we're really talking about decentering women, it does sound like a little bit of a, like, we just don't need it. It's like when people talk about well, you'll talk about toxic masculinity and they'll be like, what about toxic femininity? Girl, what the fuck is toxic femininity? Tell me what it is, give me examples of it, and then tell me how it impacts your life. And then not only that, but let's think, is it really toxic femininity, or is it just an extension of toxic masculinity? Okay, everything doesn't need to be a binary, okay? Some things are just concepts. Some things are just standalone concepts, all right? That's it. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than it originally is. And so something, again, that Bitnia speaks about like in this episode is the idea of decentering women, but at like under the umbrella of essentially decentering relationships.
Recently, I've realized I don't know how to be single. And I hate even contextualizing it like single, because that wordage implies that I'm even talking about partnership. I guess I mean alone. And it's been a really hard pill to swallow, and I've been thinking about why. Because I do like myself. I like my alone time, but I have this innate craving for partnership that, on one hand, is human and natural, but I think for me personally has started to lean into a maladaptive territory. And it's not just about literally being alone, that is my problem, but the fact that when I am alone, I'm obsessing over why I'm alone. Scouring my past relationships for patterns, for flaws, for ways I could have been better or they could have been better, and never once looking up and thinking, damn, that shit is over. What the hell are we gonna do now?
And I also think that when we see people like Molly Rudder and similar creators, they are very much centering relationships, not just in their content, but by extension in their lives. It's very hard to create that kind of content, like make your entire living off of that while not having it impact legitimately like the way that you approach relationships in your life. It's impossible. Like there's no way, because either it's impacting the way that you approach relationships, or you're treating those other people as simply a means to an end, and you're devaluing them as human beings. And like at that point, like, girl, I'm your employee. If you're using me purely for content, I am your employee, and you need to pay me, and you need to give me benefits. I'm not just gonna be here like for your little TikTok, whatever. And so like I think as well, like there is again like a broader societal push with Gen Z and even like with millennials as well. I even noticed this like in my boss at work. The idea of like decentering relationships and like romantic relationships and being able to value other things that are happening in your life. And I think like part of why I do also feel like I wouldn't necessarily fall under that serial dater umbrella is because like I frankly spend so much time with my friends and I spend so much time with myself that like I actually don't have time to be a serial dater. 4 first dates in 1 year, and even that was like a little bit exhausting. Yeah, that was a bit much. I don't even think, I guess I have technically gone on 1 first date this year, but then I'm like, oh, I can't really. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna hit the numbers that we were hitting last year. I think that my numbers are gonna get steadily lower every year at this point. Yeah, I'm having a great time by myself. I really am. But I also like I want to give credit to Bitnia as well that like, girl, like I see you and I hear you and you are so brave for sharing what you're going through. And I promise you, being alone is not the same as being lonely. I think that a lot of people do genuinely struggle with being alone because they've never been forced to truly like be with themselves. But I also don't necessarily feel like, I don't feel like we're supposed to like just be with ourselves. But again, not in the way that we are supposed to like be in romantic relationship with others, but just that like we're meant to be in community and we're meant to be like in society with like other people. And again, I've spoken about it before. If you are, I think other people, I'm not the only person who's saying this, like your romantic partner cannot satisfy all of your needs in life. If you are purely focusing on your romantic relationship to be able to get all of your emotional needs met, it's not going to happen. You're going to be very miserable. And also everybody else around you is going to be very miserable. So like, don't do that to us. Like, please. I have like I get really, really upset when I'm friends with somebody and they get into a relationship and then suddenly I don't matter anymore. Especially because of like how much like energy and value I put on my friendships with people, especially now, like more than I did before. Because it also, not only is it just like, okay, like you really just boop, dropped me off, left me like exactly like where I was at. Like I think that there's something to be said about how that's just like not fair like to do to somebody. But I also think that it makes me feel like, okay, was I just a stand-in for you until you got a girlfriend? Was I just your temporary girlfriend until you found somebody else to satisfy you? And it makes me start to like rethink the relationship and be like, oh my God, like, you know, was I being used? Or like, was this relationship as important to you as it was to me? That's a very painful thing and something that like I truly struggle with. And like it it is a lot, like for me, like when I go through that experience, which like I think I've only been in it like once in the past like couple of years, thank God, but it is very painful. It's very difficult. It's not something that I just like take lightly. And I think like that, maybe that in and of itself like can be an example of being like woman centered, but also like it's relationship centered. It's valuing the idea of a romantic relationship over everything else. And so like when I talk about like being alone, I am at peace with myself. I love myself. I love what I know what I bring to the table. I value myself as well. And I am not reducing my standards like by any means. Again, because I know the kind of value that I bring to the relationships that I'm in, both like even in the friend way and a romantic way, you know, like I still want to have friends around me who push me and encourage me to be a better version of myself. I want friends that are ambitious and who encourage me to also be ambitious, because I think something that I struggled with a lot before and something that definitely reflected like in my relationships and why I've found myself like kind of falling into the codependent patterns is that I would even like have friends where it's like I'm always solving problems. I'm always looking to solve the problem. I'm looking for a problem to solve. I'm looking for people who need to be like saved or rescued. And again, it would reflect in my relationships where it's like I'm always a fixer. I'm always like the more like placid one, the more calm one, the more mature one, trying to make sure that I can like hold everything together when I don't need to be, because I'm a princess. I'm a diva. I'm not doing that shit anymore. No. Like I'll do my best to hold myself together, but like you got to hold yourself together. I'm not doing all that shit. That's a waste of my time. So oh my God, where was I? I'm very like all over the place. Like I took notes, but I still feel like I'm being very all over the place. Okay, the idea of like being alone versus like being lonely. Because yeah, I have been single now for 4 years. Yeah, like 4 years. And I would say for the first like year of that, oh my goodness, yeah, I was alone and very lonely. I was alone and very lonely because I simply did not have a fulfilling life. There were things that were missing, and honestly, friends were a big part of that. And not just friends, but like hobbies and activities and interests and passions. And this was missing. This wasn't there like at that time. And to go from like being alone and lonely to simply just being alone is a very big shift, and a very difficult one at that. And honestly, for me, it's one that I could not accomplish without medication. Like I genuinely needed my brain chemistry to be fixed before I was able to be like, oh yeah, like actually don't need to be doing that shit. Like I'm fine. Like everything is okay. It is a-okay. Like seriously, even again, like the ability to cry and like be upset is just like I can't express like me, like right now I am upset. I'm going through the lesbian heartbreak. Like I am upset. I want to make that like very clear. I'm upset as I'm making this. I'm bleeding. I'm uncomfortable. I am actually wearing my, I have my boxers from Monthly. I don't know if you guys can see. They're actually really cute. So I do actually like those. Those are helping with the experience. But I mean, as you can see, like my emotional regulation and to an extent my emotional bluntness is quite staggering. Kind of nice. So that I can still function, because I have another event tonight. Oh my God. I'm so fucking tired, dude. I'm so fucking tired. But again, when you build a life, generally speaking, that satisfies you and makes you happy and makes you feel fulfilled, it's very easy to decenter relationships and to not keep them as like this like number one priority in your mind. I do also think, again, like from the mental health standpoint, that like I'm like a little bit of an anomaly because I definitely have been like influenced by culture, and again like this culture of, you know, that you're supposed to be married and like have your first children and buy a house by the time that you're 30, right? And it's not like, I'm not going to sit here and say that like I don't still feel like a little bit of that pressure as well, because I'm 28 now. I think I'm approaching like spinster age. I'm still single. I don't have a cat yet, but I kind of want to get one. But I'm also allergic to cats. I think I might either get a horse or like an iguana. Yeah, we'll do that instead. But like I'm approaching 30. I'm single. I have yet to buy a house, but like I'm working towards that one. I am working towards that one genuinely. And I'm single with no prospects. I don't have any kids. And again, also like in the process of like trying to get things like squared away when it comes to kids. But I do see, especially like my heterosexual friends who are married and having kids, having more than one kid, who have like bought the house and they're kind of like living that very traditional, nuclear family dream that like I also have, but I just want in a lesbian way. And like, yeah, sometimes I see that shit and I'm like, okay, when is it going to be my turn? Like, when is it going to happen for me? But at the same time, again, I think like there is nothing wrong with like wanting a relationship. That is not like when you're decentering relationships, it's not that you don't want one. I think like the benefit of learning to decenter relationships and to prioritize the relationship that you have with yourself is that you can actually also figure out if you genuinely want that. Like, is that really truly something that you want for your future? Or is it something that to an extent you have been conditioned to want as well? And I think what I do like about the fact that like I have moved into this mindset of like creating a life that like right now I enjoy and that sets me up for the future is that again, like as much as I do want that in the future, I'm not going to sacrifice the joy and the excitement and the love that I have in my life right now to simply just be in any old relationship, right? Like when you are happy with yourself and when you are content with your life, you really set the standard of what you are willing to deal with. I think like, okay, no, I'm not going to use that example. That example is actually insane. I'm not going to do that. But I think like if you are personally just like fucking miserable, then like, yeah, the idea of being in a relationship and getting that external validation probably feels great and fantastic. And it really feels like it's going to be like, you know, the thing that's going to fix everything for you. But it's not. It's not. Like it's truly not. And like for someone who's going through that and who is just maybe really struggling to get past it, like damn, I honestly hope that you end up in a relationship with somebody who can push you past that and help you see like the potential and the value and the worth that like you have as an individual and like who helps you grow into a better version of yourself. Because like that's all that I could wish for anybody else. And I think too, like when you have two people or even like multiple people who are coming into a relationship as like well-formed and like well-developed individuals, the relationship is only stronger from there, you know? And again, like you can see it in your friendships. You can also even see it in career as well. That when people feel very confident in themselves and very comfortable and like well-supported in their roles, they're better fucking coworkers than people who are not very confident or who want to find ways to like tear others down, you know? I do think as well that like and something that I also like struggled with, that like as you are decentering relationships, like you don't want to also like let it turn into like almost like an avoidant attachment type thing where just because, oh my God, what's like a good idea? How do I explain this? It's kind of like the quitting after you've been fired, right? Where like maybe somebody dumps you or honestly, no, not even that. Maybe someone genuinely just says like, oh, like, hey, you know, this, you go on a date or whatever. And they say like, hey, you know, you're great, but this just like didn't work out, you know, can't see this like going anywhere. And they're very courteous and kind about it. I think like the reaction to that, which I sometimes see, is saying like, oh, well, they fumbled me, they fumbled a baddie, like blah, blah, blah. Like they have issues, like you're like, you just like suck or whatever. When someone is being like very genuine, and very open and trying to be emotionally mature, like about the situation. I think that sometimes like when it doesn't work out, we don't let ourselves actually experience the feelings of grief that come with going back to like being single. And I think, again, like that's where the difference comes between like being alone versus lonely, because in that moment when you are alone, you're single, if you aren't lonely, you have friends and a support system that can come and like help you out of that moment and remind you that like you are well loved, and that somebody breaking up with you is, again, not a reflection of like your value as a person. If anything, it just means that you weren't compatible with that person, and that's completely okay. Most of the people that you meet in your life, you will not be compatible with. It's a big world. There's a lot of people out there, and like you're not meant to get along with all of them, and that's fine. That's normal. That's okay. But if you are alone and lonely, and if you're feeling like the weight of that loneliness, then like, yeah, being broken up with can hit like a fucking ton of bricks. And I know, at least like for myself, that because I experience my emotions at a very like physical level, like God bless psychosomatic reactions, am I right? But because I experience it at like a very physical level, that like the physical weight of being broken up with or being ghosted or being rejected used to be like so overwhelming. Like it would literally drag me down. And I think like that's also something that I kind of like noticed that like Bitnia like spoke about in her episode was just approaching like the crushing weight of loneliness. And like, girl, I am like, I promise you, like, I have the utmost empathy, like, for what you are going through and for what you are experiencing. And the only reason, like, why I can sit here and be a little hee hee ha ha about it is because, like, I've seen the other side, and God damn, it is beautiful. It is so beautiful, and it is so amazing, and it is so fulfilling. And I think even when you already have, like, good relationships in your life, they only get deeper and better as you begin to better understand and support and love and care for yourself and learn to be with yourself as well. I think like even my therapist was like, yeah, like you just, the shift in the way that I talk about things and the way that I approach scenarios is so vastly different from how it was a year ago. Completely different person. I still like, you know, I still think that like I do deal with like a little bit of the anxious attachment for sure. And I do almost feel like it spiked a little bit in my friendships, like as I began to reduce in like my romantic like dating. But at the same time, like it's so much more manageable. Like I can actually deal with it. And again, if you are anxiously attached, you do not need to be on dating apps. I'm just going to say it. Dating apps are not for you. I'm so sorry, baddie. I'm so sorry, girly. Like just anything else. Anything else. And like honestly, from my experience, like dating in person, the old fashioned way, learning to approach people, honestly learning to slide into those DMs, it hasn't been like as difficult or as like unfruitful as the dating apps and the modern approach to dating like might make you feel. And I think also, again, that like us learning how to go out and to communicate with people in a very like direct, like face-to-face way, as opposed to through an app, even for friendships, is incredibly beneficial. Because I feel like you don't really know somebody until you have the opportunity to really experience them in person, catch their energy, catch their vibe, like feel their aura, be able to speak through actual language, but also through body language. I think like that level of connection is something that we all need to be working on and we all need to be refining before AI takes our fucking jobs. Because the AI will take that away from us if we don't learn it. Matter of fact, Sora is like being shut down. Thank God. We had to let you know. Like, oh, I'm so happy about that. I'm so happy about that. So yeah, again, I saw Bitnia's episode and I was like, I want to talk about this. And honestly, like offer some encouragement as well. It is like, I guess like I did talk about this kind of like on and off, but I haven't really had a lot of like sit down, podcast episodes where like I talk about my own experience like through it. So like I guess I appreciate like seeing somebody else be very open about navigating the experience of decentering relationships. And then also it is just nice to see another queer creator like also speak to that, because I do think that the heterosexual experience versus like the queer experience is very different. And I say queer because I don't mean just like people who are in like same sex relationships. I do also think that when you are in a relationship with someone who is trans, that also does change the experience a little bit. I think that our culture around dating as a community, you know, has its ups and downs. It has its benefits and it has its, you know, negative traits as well. I do think that generally speaking, there is less pressure to do the whole like marriage and kids by 30. Which again, like I think that like I only feel that a little bit because I still have like a lot of, again, straight people like in my life who are like, you know, going through that whole process. And because I see it as something that I want personally, it does, you know, it does still affect me a little bit. I think like one of my big criticisms that I've always had, especially for the lesbian community, is the tendency to believe that relationships with women are inherently better because women are inherently better. And as much as women are inherently better, I don't think that that really reflects in the relationships that we have with each other. I think that we're much more willing to excuse BS behavior simply on the grounds of, one, we're women, and then two, the scarcity mindset that comes along with being a queer person and dating. Because again, you are much better off being by yourself than being in a relationship that does not satisfy you. You are much better being single than you are tying yourself to somebody who either doesn't care about you or doesn't care enough about themselves to recognize the impact that they're having on you. Like, again, there's no day or time or place where I can ever see myself settling for anything less than, again, what I bring to the table, truthfully. And I do think that, again, even in the last like couple of months, even in my episode with Inea as well, kind of coming to the realization that I do need someone who's a little more similar to me, like in certain aspects, and being able to really lean into that. I think it also like pushes my standards like even higher because yeah, I would like someone who is like similar to me like in certain ways. And I also recognize that I'm a high achieving person and it's not unreasonable to want somebody who, you know, again, like pushes you to be like just that next fucking level of yourself. Like why not? Like why wouldn't you want that, you know? So, yes, those are my thoughts. Nia, I wish you the best. The lesbian breakup industrial complex is also just really one of the funniest titles I've ever heard of. And I guess there was like a huge like wave of like lesbian breakups at the end of last year with like people online or whatever. I also like, I can be more chronically online on this podcast if you guys want me to be. There are, because like I love a good like 1 to 3 hour YouTube video on a random content creator who I've never fucking heard of. That is one of the most like sad, like I put that shit on and then I just do my work and I just listen to the controversy and I think it's hilarious. Matter of fact, because of Julamaya. It's not that I'm mispronouncing your name. It's that I wrote it down and I can't tell what I wrote. Like, I'm so sorry. I am awful. Jewel. So she also did a video about the whole like Maddie and Only Jaya situation. Not only did I not know that these two people dated, I also didn't really remember who Only Jaya was until this year. Like, that is someone who I remember. It's like a thimble of a memory, just like in here of like seeing their videos and just being like, oh, okay. I didn't even know they were lesbian. I was just like, honestly, just none of that. None of that was even like anywhere like on my radar. So yeah, again, chronically online, not terminally online. But I don't know, maybe I can share some of like my reactions to those types of situations because I find them very interesting. And I do find like parasocial relationships also to be very interesting. I think, yeah, it's like watching other people's reactions to it. I'm like, oh, interesting. That's what we're thinking. Cool, cool. But that'll do it for this episode. You guys know where to find me. I am on Instagram at bottumsup-pod. That is BOTTUMSUP. Wait, no. Wait. Yes, BOTTUMSUP.pod. If you want to be on an episode, or if you want to suggest a topic, or if you want to suggest somebody else to be on an episode, you can shoot me an email, bottumsuppod@gmail.com. You can also shoot me a DM on Instagram. Pretty please check out both Bitnia and Jewel. I think they are some amazing content creators, and they are not monetizing their dating life, so I appreciate that. Like, thank you. And also let's offer Bitnia some support as she is going through this journey of self-love and self-healing and self-discovery, because that's what community is for. And that's what we should be offering each other anyways. All right, y'all. I will see you on the next episode. Bye.
And that's another social tension I'm finding, that lesbian relationships are idealized as men double down on being cruel and bigoted and entitled, while lesbians either attempt to replicate those social scripts, the moralistic, potentially fulfilling white picket fence or queer commune farm, or crumble beneath them, replicating a more unhealthy script, but one that is also contextualized by patriarchy most likely. Cheating, lying, power plays, physical violence. There's also some major elements here about capitalism and living in a society that profits a lot off of love. Hinge Plus, dating shows, fucking Valentine's Day, it's all part of the script. And isn't that equality? Isn't that hashtag gay rights? Give us a chance to pay $10 a month to get unlimited likes on a dating app to go on one date with someone we'll never talk to again but will follow on Instagram for years to come. At least give us the option, you know? Lesbians and queer people in general have so many extra steps to fulfill in order to have healthy relationships in the first place. And then to top that, typically have limited resources financially or otherwise to like cope with that reality. So we end up trying to follow one script or the other. White picket fence or demon time. Neither of which were societally designed to support us or really fulfill us, or really women in general, or potentially anyone in general. Because like I said at the beginning, this all comes back to patriarchy. The real root of all these norms and disruptions and dysregulations and trials and tribulations is that the dominant culture wants the majority of people to follow one script. So near the bottom of the pyramid, we're trying to grapple with scraps and force and contort ourselves into a script that wasn't written for us. And it's both ideologically liberating at this point in culture to some extent, but at the same time it's like not actually liberation.